All right, we got a lot on tap today. We're going to be talking with head coach Brent Vigen. We're also going to discuss some of the secondary play as we get set for a big-time FCS matchup today. Montana State and South Dakota State, the number 3 and number 1 teams in the nation, coming up at the top of the hour. Put into context just how big of a non-conference regular season game we're about to witness today.
Well, I would say this is the premier game of FCS football, not only this weekend, but probably in the first half of the season. It's an amazing matchup how this game came to be. It was scheduled several years ago, but as you said, semifinal game last year right here in Brookings, South Dakota, and here we are again. But I can't think of a bigger matchup this early in the season for many, many years. It's kind of a rivalry that just kind of evolved. It's two classy football teams, and it's a healthy rivalry, so to speak, at this point.
Going to the right. Snap. Chambers keeps it. Runs right up the middle. Chugging at the goal line. He dives forward, and he's into the end zone. Shotgun snap, they hand it off. Lamar Johnson up the middle with a little bit of room. Oh, big time pop at the 40-yard line. Danny Louis Lekepa. Design run going to his right. He breaks free. He's headed to the end zone, and he's in for a touchdown. Gronowski will keep it, looking to throw, firing toward the end zone. Caught. Touchdown. Zach Hines makes the snag over Rylan Orr. That was a heck of a pass and catch. 16-yard strike. And for the first time tonight, South Dakota State is on top after that touchdown. Snap, chest high, Dustman stepping into it, and got blocked. That ball is loose. It's right at the goal line, and the Bobcats recover it. It's a block punt. Montana State football at the 1-yard line. He takes a shot down the right sideline. That ball is caught. And now here's the snap, fired over to the right side of the numbers. Catch is made. Man is loose. He's heading toward the end zone. Seymour behind him, and he's in. 2 plays, and they go 75 yards for the go-ahead touchdown. Rolling out to his right, 5 seconds left. Got to go here, 4 seconds left. He takes a shot toward the end zone. Cleveland Thomas, he made the catch. Touchdown, Bobcat! Here we go. Here's the official call.
After review, there is 1 second left on the clock, and also the pass is incomplete. Second down with 1 second.
Coach, all right, here we are. Week 3, how we feeling?
A disappointing loss last Saturday against a really good team. I thought that our guys really fought hard, played hard, and obviously went right down to the end. It didn't end up how we wanted. So this is a week of regrouping, resetting. Good football teams are able to win or lose, come back beginning part of the week and look forward rather than looking back. And I think our guys have done that. We got a new opponent coming to town, and that's the task at hand right now.
Last week we talked about how you manage riding the emotional wave from week to week, from play to play, from quarter to quarter and all that. How do you feel like your team handled that emotional wave of this game at South Dakota State? Because, man, it had some serious highs and some serious lows.
Yeah, I think we responded fairly well. Had a good, solid first half. You get in the locker room and 10-0. I think we, in some ways, we'd certainly dominated time of possession. Keeping them, from scoring was huge. I know that hadn't happened in a long, long time for them. They come out and they answer us. But I thought the ebbs and flows of that second half showed the character that we have. Offensively, special teams, we did respond. Didn't ultimately put the points on the board we would have liked. Defense, we get 2 3 and outs in the fourth quarter. And then it comes down, they score, and we got to respond on offense, and we were right there with an opportunity throwing the ball in the end zone. So I think from that point of view, the guys kept after it.
I want to go back to Tommy Malott. He got hurt in this game. At what point did he actually get hurt in that game?
You know, there was a couple different plays. It was ultimately, I think he played maybe a play or two after the play that kind of put him out. That would have been in the third quarter. But the nature of how that game played out for him, he did take a couple shots. And you know, while we want to run him, we want to minimize the contact that he takes. But that happened on a couple occasions and ultimately set him back. You know, Sean came in and made some plays, didn't make all of them, and we'll. You know, we're fortunate we do have a backup as capable as Sean, and we'll see where it goes from here.
All right, well, let's get into some of the points and some of the red zone stuff in this game. Just 1 for 5 in terms of touchdowns in the red zone. When you look back, you know, what can you guys do differently to try to punch those in and turn those 3 points into 7?
Well, I think there's some schematics to it. There's some misses within that we had, and certainly the offsides, the self-induced errors was probably the biggest thing, quite frankly. You know, when we play in an environment like that, you know, we have to be able to be louder at quarterback. We got to be able to focus that much more up front. You know, extended to our tight ends. We still going to need to come off the ball. That's all part of the secret. You can't just sit back on your heels. So those guys are trying to get the jump, and it hurt us. You know, that is a critical stat for us, is red zone touchdowns. You know, and we didn't live up to the mark in that game, and ultimately those points we left off the board, I think, cost us the game.
Yeah, now, and you know, the false starts were huge. 7 of those 9 false starts were in the red zone in this game. But when you look at just in terms of the play calling and how you guys went about it schematically, when you go back and look and review this, how do you evaluate that?
Well, I think it's easy to do that on a Sunday and a Monday. I know we have a good stable running back, so putting the ball in their hands, I think is something that we gotta not more than consider. You know, certainly being able to, you know, throw the football. We can't change the outcome of what happened on Saturday, but we have to learn from the things that didn't go our way, so that the next time we're in those scenarios, they can go our way.
And the Cleveland Thomas catch, first of all, it was a dime from Sean Chambers, an incredibly athletic effort from Thomas. But as now we've gotten a few days past it, have you gotten any more clarity on maybe what was the definitive evidence that got that thing to get overturned? Well,
I think that's a great question. You know, I think the replay angles at our level are limited, and you know, unfortunately, you know, what they saw didn't go in our favor. But again, for me to sit and worry about that much, to complain about that much as the week goes along, that doesn't get us anywhere. You know, replay is an imperfect science. I know the official on the field called it a touchdown pretty emphatically, and you know, you're crossing your fingers that it'll stand, and it didn't. And you know, that's the way it goes sometimes. It just doesn't work out for you. So, you know, it's my hope that you know, as a division, as an FCS division, that we can look at, you know, how do we improve that? How do we enhance the angles that we have? You know, especially when it comes to playoff time. I think if that's something that can come out of you know, a game like that, an ending like that, that is a positive.
And then finally, at the end of that game, too, that unsportsmanlike penalty kind of right after that. Where did that come from? All they said was coach or just kind of bench. So where did that come from?
Well, I think another good question. I wasn't given much explanation about who. I know it wasn't me. It wasn't close to me. I was kind of down on the other end, you know, speaking to the sideline officials. You know, a complicated situation where there's zeros on the clock. My ability to communicate, hey, we got another second. We got to get a play. Whether that got out in time for us to respond appropriately, apparently that wasn't the case. But really, no real clarification on who. But obviously, we had a disappointed group at that point. You know, you think you maybe got away with one. You know, made a play at the end to escape a very tightly contested game. It doesn't work in your favor. You know, whether emotions took over in that instance, we were flagged, and it made that last play much more complicated.
Well, truly an incredible game. Certainly lived up to its hype, and certainly the future is bright the rest of this season. All right, we're going to take a break. When we get back, we'll get another episode of the Players Lounge, talking to a couple of wide receivers, and later Grace Lawrence will chat with Julius Davis. More of the Bobcat Insider coming up after this timeout.
Welcome back to Bobcat Insider, sponsored by First Interstate Bank.
Back on the Bobcat Insider, time now to get another edition of the Players Lounge. Josh Perkins hosting with the wide receiver room. Cleveland Thomas, Marquis Johnson, and Evan Groves all talking a little bit about just the family atmosphere and the locker room culture at Montana State.
So what about, you know, a lot of things we touched on was, you know, everybody feel like we have a great culture here. Obviously winning helps that. You know what I mean? Losing sometimes brings out that toxicity. But what's some of the things you guys seen here as far as the culture? Because you've been at other programs, in comparison to other programs that you see here, that's something different that you can elaborate on.
I like how I just feel like I know everybody. If I'm homeless right now, I know I can call up anybody on the team and they'll have a spot for me. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't get that at Kentucky.
I know it's probably kind of cliche, but like everywhere you go, it's always like family, family, family. But with me being from, coming from Sac State, he coming from Kentucky, I feel like I had the opportunity to really see the difference between different programs. And like he said, like it's not because the camera's on and we play here, like it's really a family for real. Like I feel like, and I was talking to somebody else the other day, and I was like, it almost feel like this the home of second chances. It seemed like a lot of people got their second chance here, and everybody's thriving. Even with the phone call, like we were talking about earlier, like I feel like they do a great job at trying to analyze your character. A lot of people here are like-minded, and I feel like we got similar beliefs. Like when we lost to South Dakota State, another team probably be like, all right, next season. And here we like, yo, we gotta tighten up. Like what's that? Like that's not cool, that's not acceptable. And that's how I am. I don't like to lose. Like we gotta run that back. So I feel like we just super competitive. We care about each other. And I think the biggest thing for us is a lot of men, a lot of young men. Just because you feel some type of way about the stuff that you're saying to me don't mean that I'm not gonna keep trying to coach you up as a player. You see what I'm saying? It's not that it's just the coaches that get the coaches. It's CT. It's other guys around the locker room that's able to reach out to some of the younger guys and even individuals like me. So it's a real close-knit family for real.
I feel like these guys, their locker room, they've raised the bar. Like we was lucky to we felt proud if we just made the first round of the playoffs back then. These guys, it's the expectation is national championship. Get there, like that's what it is. So I'm proud to watch these guys, and I love what you guys bring, and I love what they're doing.
Well, Coach, I thought it was pretty interesting there to hear from Marquis Johnson talking about how he felt like you guys as a coaching staff were trying to evaluate the character of players that you were trying to bring in here. How do you do that? How do you make sure that the character of a player you have is going to mesh with that locker room atmosphere?
Whether it's a high school kid or a transfer, you're not looking at, just things at face value, meaning you're not just looking at what they may be done on the field. Obviously, that's an important piece. You want guys that are going to contribute on the field, but who are they as people? And I think in these transfer scenarios, what didn't work at their previous institution? Why didn't it work? So how can they articulate that is a big piece to it. Because guys are leaving for a reason, and there are reasons that are warranted. There's reasons that are, maybe ones that we wouldn't be super interested in. So you try to sort that out. You try to, engage people that you feel like will have an inside track at the story, whether that's going back to the high school years or even in a lot of cases just college coaches that have had a chance to interact with them. So, digging deep in taking your time, being deliberate about that process in recruiting period, whether it's transfers or high school coaches, is something that we need to investigate, and we need to have a good sound understanding of what their character is all about.
Whatever the process is, it certainly seems to be working. All right, we're going to take another quick break, and before we hear from Grace Lawrence and Julius Davis, we're going to get you ready for Stetson coming up on Saturday for that 1 o'clock kick at Bobcat Stadium. Bobcat Insider continues after this.
Welcome back to Bobcat Insider, sponsored by First Interstate Bank.
Back to the Bobcat Insider and Coach. All right, here we go. Week 3's on the clock. Stetson coming through. They've got the reigning defensive player of the week on their defensive side. That's number 44, Diego Davis. They're running a lot of defensive backs out there, and they have the reigning offensive freshman player of the year in one of their quarterbacks. Tell us a little bit about the Stetson team. What are some of the things they do well?
They're aggressive. 3-3-5 on defense, which can take on a lot of different forms, but for them, primarily that is an aggressive form where they're putting a lot of pressure on their defensive backs to cover and allowing them to take and bring one more guy than you have sometimes. Pretty aggressive, creating some situations that, put pressure on, both the run game and the pass game. I think offensively, what you see is a skill group that has some real ability. They've been able to get behind the defense, throwing the football, and they got a couple guys out of the backfield that run it. And they've run 2 quarterbacks, but one primarily that can throw it and can be effective in the run game. So I think they're a team that we're certainly not going to take lightly, that has big play capability on both sides of the football. And we got to continue to find ourselves. Find a level of consistency. The mark of a good team is a good team that can keep improving, and that's the challenge we have this week.
Now we're about to hear a little bit more about Julius Davis, the Wisconsin transfer as well. How have you seen him settle in, and what's his impact been?
Well, I think more and more each week, and we've played 2 games. It certainly flashed a little bit against Utah Tech, had a touchdown, a couple other good runs besides that. I thought against South Dakota State, he was our primary running back, and he did some real good things. Has really good feet, I think, feet to go along with his vision, and then he has the ability to make people miss. And really loved how he's integrated himself going back to getting here at the beginning of the summer. Again, we talked about the character piece. I think Julius has a tremendous character, and he wanted an opportunity to touch the ball a little bit more, to become part of a program that was about the things we're about. So he's worked his way in. He's a tremendous competitor, and I think he'll continue to make plays for us as the season goes along.
Well, certainly been fun to watch that, and we're going to learn a little bit more about who Julius Davis is with Grace Lawrence coming up after this timeout on the Bobcat Insider.
Welcome back to Bobcat Insider, sponsored by First Interstate Bank.
Here's the snap. Malott hands it off, spins off one man, and he's into the end zone. Julius Davis, touchdown, Bobcats! And he scores in his first game in the blue and gold.
That was actually my first touchdown in my entire career in college. So it was surreal. Like, I honestly didn't know how to feel, but I was just happy. I got to experience something I haven't experienced in a while since high school. I looked for the first lineman to throw me in the air.
It's true, he did. Did you guys plan the celebration?
No.
Definitely. I mean, yeah, you spent 4 years with the Badgers. Can you think back during your time at Wisconsin when that breakthrough happened and things started clicking?
Second year I was there at Wisconsin, my coach, John Settle, he was huge on making sure we knew the defense and knew what their assignments were and how they could play us. I had this thing with him where I'd always tell him, like, hey, I'm learning the defenses, but through Madden. So it was an interesting way where I could use Madden as another resource and put it all together so I could use it in real life too. So
that's really interesting. Do you still use Madden today? I guess. Yeah. We'll get into now. I mean, you're a Bobcat now, so I guess can you take me through your recruitment process? I know Al Johnson probably had a huge hand in it. You guys spent time together at Wisconsin, so take me through it.
Coach Al Johnson was one of the first coaches to reach out to me, and it wasn't even necessarily to come to Montana State. It was, what is your thoughts? What are you looking for? And kind of, I want the best for you.
Did you also meet Sam Mix, I'm guessing, during the recruitment process? What's the relationship been like with him, and how's it grown?
Coach Mix probably has been one of my most favorite coaches so far throughout my career. He's not necessarily it's my way or the highway. It's let me hear you out. Yes, if my way is the way that it should be done, that's how it will be done, but he'll hear you out. I believe we have so many weapons that the ball doesn't have to necessarily be in the running back's hand all the time. Just know when it is, you're gonna have to lock in.
Here's the snap, chest high, Dustman stepping into it, and got blocked! That ball is loose, it's right at the goal line, and the Bobcats recover it!
It was on the 1 yard line, and I think that just kind of gave us that juice where it's like, okay, yeah, we got to get this. We get this, it's a huge momentum swing. Everybody did their jobs. Could have been easily Ort that blocked it as well. And I think personally, if he wasn't there, I don't block it.
Are there any players in the league, maybe even retired running backs that you've looked up to, or maybe just athletes in general?
My dad was a huge football fan. And he actually introduced me to Barry Sanders. At a young age, like, that was my number. I was like, I'm gonna go number 20, Barry Sanders. As I got a little older and kind of could form my own opinions as well, I started to enjoy Marshawn Lynch a lot as well. His physicality, the way he runs. I feel like there's so many great running backs that it's like, I watch so many and I try to take so much from each person's game and then make it my own.